Welcome to Fuse Logic TV. I'm your host, Rob Hislop. Our shows are coming to you from the White Mud Equine Center. We are here for the Alberta Council of Technology's event called Twilight in the Meadows. We'll be interviewing a number of people. Let's get started. Well, right now we're joined by Linda Osinchuk. You were the mayor of Strathcona County.
I am.
Why are you here?
I was invited by Perry Kincaid, who has been an acquaintance of mine for a number of years. And Perry is the past president now of the ABCtech, and he connected.
He's the founder as well.
He's the founder.
Yes.
And so I was asked to give greetings on behalf of the region, and the capital region, in regards to coming in. And it is a relationship that I treasure and actually believe in. And so I'm really honored to be here.
So when you come to an event like this, I mean, outside of the remarks that you have, how can you make a difference, you think, in this environment, or how can this environment make a difference with what you take back to your office?
Well, what I see is the opportunity of going forward with a group like ABC and connection to local government for where I represent is communicating. And even on this venue here, we're communicating to people of where we are, what's it about, and is it relevant to what I'm doing every day when I'm driving my kids to soccer, or that I'm needing to have my job, or I don't have a job. What's the relevance of this organization in my own everyday life? And that's where local government, and as the mayor, I can open the door of understanding how our organization that champions technology and education can be relative, and connecting people and youth and even people who are looking for jobs. And actually, you know what, we're just talking here with Walter and some of the other municipal people that, Edmonton area should be the world capital technological center.
So how can you just make that claim?
I know.
Where do you, I mean, that would be nice, we're doing very well in oil, but how can you just come out and say Edmonton should be the world center for something like that?
Well, you know what, it's interesting because Alberta is and has been very much in, of course, the resource of oil and gas. And I'm chair of the Industrial Heartland. I support the resources of oil and gas. I support us moving forward. But what we talked about even here is the economic diversification of what's going to be outside that box, or even the spin-off of it. And it's interesting, where Edmonton area and even Strathcona County has been great innovative businesses right in our own backyard, and have taken their home base in the Edmonton area because it's been accessible for to the airports, it's been accessible to industry, it's been accessible to the best universities. It's the best kept secret almost in our own backyard. So a claim like that is taking it to an A game. Because if we don't look out, if we don't jump into the arena and just spectators around, then we shouldn't have a say. But we are in the arena, we can control or actually create opportunities, and that is by, it sounds lofty in a sense, but it's about speaking about it, it's about creating it. And that's what I see this ABC Technology Group can do, and make it relative to everyday lives.
I read, and I can't remember who the quote is from, but it was something along the lines of, if you tell people your dreams and they don't laugh at you, you're not dreaming high enough.
Well,
so is that sort of what you're doing, is you're setting the bar very high and it's something to shoot for?
So it's interesting, even myself running as mayor, right? The challenges that were there, right? And the risk that people hesitate to take any risk, and not only for running for political office, for creating a new business, for creating a new invention, is one of those, what stops you? What is a hesitation? It's your own personal, battle that you wear inside. Well, if I fail, then I might be laughed at, or I might not be acknowledged. But the risk of not taking a risk is one of those other avenues that, you might regret. So I think it's important to take, when technologies come into play, or even an ability to say, setting the bar high, why not? You know what? Let's create that synergy, give the can-do spirit, and positive energy, because I think that's infectious. That is one that people relate to, and what a better gift to give to our kids.
Well, it's funny you mention risk, because the keynote speaker tonight, Todd Hirsch, who's got his book, and I always have to check it because the boiling frog dilemma.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking risk and technology and such, but that's what he's talking about. But risk, he says, one thing is that Canadians, for the most part, don't seem to know when to take risk, and don't do it enough to try and further, I guess, our society.
And he's accurate. And we actually need to proclaim who we are and actually be proud of saying that we are creative, that we actually do the good job of it, and that we are minded about environment and stewardship and everything that globally we're asked to do. But you also remember we have the human environment that we have to also be mindful of. And what a human environment is caring. The caring perspective of jobs, caring perspective of our kids, the whole thing about the risk. If we don't do it, what would be the negative effect? Our population bases are getting less and less as years go on. So who are we going to rely on to continue caring for our communities and our businesses? We need to be innovative in creating communication and practical resource like we're right now. Right now, this has never been thought of, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So what is the opportunities that we can actually do better work more efficiently with less people? And also because, you know what, we're not working the same either. We want to be having our spare time. We want to make sure, we're less stressed. So I think the risk capacity of it is doing it better, more efficiently, and having fun at it.
So when we were talking off camera before the interview started, you were mentioning how you think government has a role in risk-taking, development, technology, and that sort of thing. Our author, again, thinks that government is actually, not that it hasn't always done good things, but says often it gets in the way. And so why do you think government needs to have a part in this? Should that be the role of government, or should government be healthcare and education and focusing on making sure the province runs well and let the average citizen take care of, I guess, the new things in life, the new technology, diversification, all that sort of thing?
You know what, again, 3 levels of government, representing municipal level, close to the people, where service levels is, policies that we kind of put together. And interesting, Strathcona County, for the last 14 years, have created probably the highest risk ever for a municipality by putting the heartland in. But yet we mediated against risk by putting policies in. And that's where the level of all other levels of government.
The Heartland transmission line?
Not the Heartland, industrial Heartland.
Okay.
So the Heartland is actually a cluster of petrochemical industries that is the largest, one of the largest one internally in Canada, in our own backyard. So creating that cluster, could have been a big risk. And actually, even understanding and giving that education to people in British Columbia, we're talking about the pipelines. We're talking about the risk of, it's a risk for them to put policies that might put against the jobs that they have there, or environment. Or we need to ensure that even provincially, their role here is actually opening the door, opening the door to opportunities. And if policy in both education, health, energy, and environment, these are all these ministries, and actually they've put, and that's what advanced education, and it plays a part of our technologies of opening the door, because you need policies to give rules and regulations, to give funding. Our taxes, there's only one taxpayer, right? And majority go to, to provincial or federal taxes. So the funding that goes in there, we have to have them set the tone and set the pace of saying, we believe in you, we're not going to restrict you, so allow us some latitude to be creative. So I think policy is one, that's where they have to do it, and of course federally, that's another extension that we haven't tapped into. I think it's even more. Diversification,
obviously important. Most people in Alberta think that you have to diversify away from oil to a certain degree. We've been talking about it for decades, and again, going back to the author, basically pointed out that when times are good, we never think about diversifying. When the price of oil is high, and we just say, let's not blow it this time. And then when the price of oil goes down and times are hard, that's when we think about diversifying. But of course, the cycle just keeps going, and you could argue that not enough ever gets done. How do we break that cycle, or do we?
Well, you know what? It is a continuum that we shouldn't be going up and down in that cycle. The best scenario right now is, our natural gas feedstocks are so plentiful because the United States has their own saturation of feedstock for natural gas. And why is that relevant right now? I mean, it's the cheapest right now natural gas will ever be, and yet we have so much of it, access here in our own province and even Saskatchewan, British Columbia. Opportunity to diversify out of upgrading bitumen, to diversifying to upgrading natural gas, either a GTL plant, to diesel. We are always in a need of diesel. We are an agriculturally based, rooted province and Western Canada. So there is technologies that are now available and very close and coming into our own backyard that now not only oil and gas, but also, fertilizers. And interesting enough.
So that's where you see the diversity. Because right now when you're saying going from oil to gas, to me it's like a hockey player saying, well, I play forward, but I'm going to be defense now. It doesn't seem like a big leap, but you see further development after that.
Huge. And it actually, it gives us a bit of a comfort zone of going to another sector, which is very much related. And it's resources that do come from the ground. But the other one that we've tend to forget about, and it's come from, and I go back to agriculture. Agriculture, they think, well, what? We're closing down farms, or and no one's going to that whole sector. Food production is probably one of the topical international, needs. And we're going to go back to basics right now. People need food, right? We're not going to grow corn to make sure it's fuel, because California is doing that. We have an opportunity to have agricultural business, and it's a little bit more of just putting grain, and I'm a farm girl from Saskatchewan. I know about the value of just doing local farming and making sure your family is raised. But we have to go back to how can we make it agricultural business out of it. And so diversifying is even looking at those sectors, looking at how can we make technology. And my dad had one tractor for all these acres. Now there's this huge able to do technology in not only land, but also horses and livestock, and also the whole thing about cottage industry of food production, mushrooms, strawberries, honey, and that's where people have to find.
The thing with that is interesting because it seems like larger farms have taken over from smaller farms, which of course changes the whole dynamic of the economy as well, and diversification as well. Because if the big guy doesn't want to do it, it's difficult for the small guys to do it as well.
Yeah. So that's why I see diversifying, but it's also in career development, right? And knowing that what we're doing right now isn't going to be the standard for 5 to 25, and we should be looking at 2035, 2050. What is the outcome that Alberta wants to be at the end of the day? And like Strathcona County, the outcome, we're doing a strategic plan right now. Who and what are we looking at? And culture of our history and who we are. We just finished a branding exercise of identity, and our tagline is living.refined. And it really is talking about families coming into our community, and we're #1 for raising kids. We're #1 for jobs, according to Money Sense magazine, this last 2012. And why is that? And yet we have industry in our own backyard, because it's a caring, basic, safe community that we invest in for diversifying with recreation, diversifying for healthcare, diversifying, and that's where the diversification, we just can't just say it's in one sector of oil and gas, and that's why you're saying that we know what health care is. It's about taking care of people. And if we keep on putting infrastructure in the ground and say that's the bottom line we concentrate on, and forget about the economics of caring, you're missing the biggest formula, and that's people. And if we kind of concentrate on where they need to go, and the measurables for caring for people is easy. It's you have less people that are on the streets, less people that are having no jobs, and you know what? Less people in jails and scenarios like that. So it has to be a balance. And it sounds very broad and very mystical.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that, because that's, as a role as a mayor, I'm champion the people, but it has to come straight down to dollars and cents and taxes, and coming down to services. And so what we're trying to say here is, by diversifying an opportunity to be flexible and look outside the box and saying, you know what, someone has a great idea, let's try it.
Linda, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. We've been chatting with Linda Osinchuk, the Mayor of Strathcona County.